You are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, and my friend and co-host James Jones. And the fanfare at the beginning of this podcast comes as we are recording Monday night, 7 p.m. And basically, Julen Lopetegui is on the very, very, very brink of being sacked as manager of West Ham. I do the funfair with a little bit of tongue in cheek because I'm not full of confidence that whatever happens next will be super glorious like it has been the past few years. However, at time of recording, which is important to note as you may be listening to this with some more concrete news having come out, at the time of recording, West Ham United have the words I got from senior sources at West Ham today was that Lopetegui is on the brink. The stories about Graham Potter, which have come from elsewhere, I understand on the brink to mean that he's gone, but as soon as we can agree a deal with Potter, then he'll be gone officially, hence on the brink. James, only one thing to talk about, really. We did also lose 4-1 to Manchester City last week, and we've got an announcement to make re-podcast. But before we get into all that, your thoughts on the Lopetegui news, and the Potter news, I guess, given the current state of things?
I'm glad that it appears that the club have decided to stop kicking the can down the road. And it seems like they've decided, we'll stop doing that now. We might as well make a decision. It all just seems a little bit, although the writing's been on the wall for weeks, probably even months, but it seems a little bit out of the blue because it was only yesterday I read that he's going to be in charge of Villa and Fulham, at least. So no one expects anything to happen before then. And you kind of groan a little bit and go, what's the point? By then, after January's done, after transfer window's done, what's the point? You might as well just keep him. So now you wake up the following day and then suddenly it's like he's gone and we're just negotiating with the new guy. So yeah, I'm pleased that it appears that this is going to be a thing and he's going to go and we're going to move on. And but I don't know. I just feel like this should have been done 3 months ago, if I'm honest.
What? Before the season started?
Before the season started. Yeah, like they had an opportunity to do this 2 months ago and us be in a position where we could still probably put a run of results together to be in with a shout of qualifying for Europe.
Yeah.
Now that's a dead duck, and it's like, well, what's the best we've got for 11th, maybe?
Yeah. Season feels over, doesn't it?
We're out the FA Cup already. And it just feels a bit like you could have saved our season, guys, but you've let it die, and now you've gone, let's make the change now.
Yeah, let's do so about it. Yeah. I must admit, the timing seems very odd because, well, frankly, it's sort of come off the back of a reasonable run of results. Like, we're clearly not going down. The Manchester City game, we're always going to lose 4-1 at Man City, whoever the manager is. And we sort of scrabbled enough points together in the games preceding City. It wasn't spectacular by any stretch, but it was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of what we'd be expecting to do, which is get just enough points to exist at the end of the season. But and so it just seems, I just thought I'd sort of resign myself to, I'd get him to the end of the season so they don't have to pay him off / bring anyone else in. And then
my theory is that they've wanted to sack him for a while, but there's been no one at the club capable of taking on a caretaker position until they finish negotiating with their chosen one. Because if Lopetegui goes, his entire coaching staff goes as well, right? Because he's got his own team. So one of his best mates ain't going to hang about and take the team for another 3 games before they replace him. Like, they're all out. Yeah. So
everyone give it Nobes till the end of January.
Maybe Nobes just sort of giving Sully a call. Go, don't even think about it, mate. I'm not doing.
Well, yeah, as I would if I was the
technical
director or whatever.
Yeah.
No,
So
big time, mate. That's really demeaning to him. And I think any
yeah,
fans who've been saying that, I just think, no, he's got a job at the club.
yeah. So I think they've probably been negotiating or talking to managers for a while. I think we've that's been very obvious that that's been the case.
Or
But I
just
think
scrabbling around trying to think of who to give it to, because
yeah,
other than
but I
Potter,
think
no one
maybe
had any answers.
obviously it looks like it's going to be Graham Potter, and I wonder whether Graham Potter's been the negotiations have been there for a few weeks, and they've gone, well, we can't sack him until we've got an agreement out of this guy because we've got no one to take the team because there's no natural caretaker. Noves doesn't want it, so who do we give it to? Like we need a guy taking the team, and so they've held off. And it sounds like an agreement has been made with Potter, and so they've gone right. Okay, let's go, let's do it. That's my theory as to why it suddenly happened now.
No,
as opposed to 2, 3, 4 weeks ago when everyone was like, "It's so obvious you need to make this change absolutely now."
No, it sounds like a very sensible thing, a sensible move, James. Quite frankly, it's a very sensible theory. I mean. Right, Jonesy, we'll do the full breakdown, right, of that in the next section. We will do Manchester City review later on, but there's bigger fish to fry, as it feels like there has been all season, really, mate. The individual games have felt a little bit insignificant to where the club's at, bigger picture-wise. In fact, it felt like that all of 2024. I am a little bit fearful that the sort of general, that I'm not full of confidence that's going to stop immediately. But anyway, look, we'll chat about all that. Stories saying we'll talk about Tim Steidten as well. Pressure on him, I think, James. Reports coming out that he stepped away from the training ground amid another reported sort of bust up in the build up to this, writing on the wall stuff for Lopetegui, like you mentioned. So we'll do that. But first of all, James, we have got a big announcement to make, have we not? We've been ruminating over this for a long time, or hinting at it, suggesting at it, doing lots and lots of work in the background, but we finally agreed and nailed down a process by which you guys, our long-time loyal, faithful We Are West Ham podcast listeners, can pay for the podcast or subscribe to the podcast, I think is the best way of putting it. So long story short, headline news here is that we are now on Patreon. Patreon.com, a search We Are West Ham. There'll be links in the description to this and on our socials and stuff. And long story short, me and James put a lot of time and effort and over the years money into this endeavour. We started it out as a live radio show every Tuesday night, Love Sport Radio, and plenty of you listening now, to be fair, have been listeners since those days. We asked for messages a while ago about anyone who'd been there from day one, and lots of you have. We used to go and record it Tuesday nights in the studio in London Bridge. Great. A couple of hours just chatting about West Ham. COVID hit, radio station went bust. Me and Jonesy decided we'd carry it on as a podcast, see how it went, and it went swimmingly, to be fair. We got lots of big name interviews, and here we are 5 or so years later, still going very strong indeed. Listener numbers good. We've got the YouTube channel going, but we don't put as much time and effort in that because ultimately, and James will agree with me here, we are a podcast at heart. This is our favourite. It's certainly my favourite medium. I'm an absolute podcast lover. A podcast and a radio lover is my go-to. That when I consume my own media, so we're a podcast at heart, and that's where the vast majority of our listeners are, and lots of our sort of efforts go into. But to put it bluntly, me and James, our personal and professional lives have both changed fairly significantly within the past probably 12 months, I think. James has kindly put on the link. It's patreon.com/We Are West Ham podcast. Our lives have changed quite considerably in the past sort of 6 to 12 months. A year basically, and at the end of every season we always do a little bit of a review and go, look, are we going to carry this on? What needs to change? How's it working for your life? How's it working for my life? And we've always found the way, this season included as well. However, this season we did have to take Alex on in the summer. Alex does get paid for the work he does. It means me and James could step away a little bit from the backroom stuff, which is like the editing, all the social stuff, that sort of thing, which is a significant drain on our time and our resources as well. So we've made the decision in order to keep the podcast going. We were going to try and do this over the summer. A few complications meant we couldn't get it done as quick as we liked, so we thought we'd start the new year would be a good time to announce the move. And yeah, we just sort of need your support because we do have to pay for this sort of stuff anyway. Or we'd certainly appreciate your support because it means we can keep it going the current way it is and pay all of the bits and the members of staff that we currently have to. We lost a sort of thing over the summer, a revenue source we had for this, which sort of meant we didn't have to do this sort of thing. So James, you can talk a little bit. We made it as affordable as possible. I think me and James are going to end up with £1.50 each per month per subscriber. And I'd just like to say, when I say me and James, that goes into the We Are West Ham podcast bank account. And every single penny since we started that bank account, James, about 5 years ago, not a single penny of it has been directly transferred to me and James by way of dividend or payment or anything like that. We've used it on the away games and the away trips where we've always bought you guys coverage. We've interviewed opposition fans, and in Europe, across Europe, we use it for the away trips. We use it for beers when we're in the pub before and after the game, and some of those times with listeners to the podcast. So this isn't just a thing that's going. You'll see me and James driving around Porsches in the next couple of weeks. The money will come in and it will stay in the podcast account and go back into stuff that makes the podcast better for you guys. So James, on that note, you've set it up and they've inconveniently done it in dollars. But you can talk a little bit around the price in which we've made as affordable as we can while still enabling us to pay for all the bits and the people that we need to.
No, the dollars are the back end for us, but front end it's pound sterling to those who will be accessing Patreon from the UK.
There we go.
It is it'll be £3.50 a month, which is cheaper than a beer these days, to be fair. So and what you get with your £3.50 is ad-free listening and access to every single episode. So that's this main episode and the opposition view that we do every week, 24 hours before everyone else. So you'll be able to access the audio files will be uploaded to Patreon directly 24 hours before they land on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and all the rest of it. So you'll be able to the audio and the video version before we hit the mainstream channels. So yeah, £3.50 a week. Ad-free listing and
a month. £3.50 a month, James.
£3.50 a month.
£3.50 a week seems good value, but it was £3.50 a month, even better value.
£3.50 a month. But we might, depending on how this goes, we might add a few other additional perks as we go, depending on how well this goes. But at the moment, that's as far as we're going. Ad-free listening and access to every single episode, 2 episodes a week, 24 hours before everyone else.
Yeah. Worth noting as well, Jonesy, that if you listen at the moment and you can't afford to do that or you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You will not get a minute less content than anyone who pays for the We Are West Ham podcast on Patreon. So if you don't want to, or you can't afford it, then you won't lose out on any of the content that we publish. It'll just mean that you can't access it until a day after those guys paying on the Patreon. We wanted to keep it nice and simple, and we're doing it because we have to. Basically, we've got a really loyal, dedicated bunch of listeners. Me and James often get asked to go on TalkSport, Sky, ITV, the BBC. We both work for media companies. All of those outlets pay for mine and James's time and our insights. And, we do have sort of busy, packed lives in and to sort of keep this as a viable entity for both of us. We do have to do this at this stage. So we like to think, lots of you get in touch and stuff anyway. You can message us directly and get involved and stuff on Patreon, can't you, James? So build little communities, like chat amongst yourselves, which might be a bit nicer, to be fair, than the sort of DMs that go backward and forward between us. Me and James will be getting involved in those as well. It'd be good to get involved and see what you guys are saying to each other. We're patreon.com/We Are West Ham podcast. I think you don't have to listen to it within there as well. I think you can download or you can find like links or whatever, so you can still access the early access feed in your normal podcast platforms. Or am I wrong there, James? That's what I do with one of mine.
To be honest, I don't know. We're still getting scripts.
I'm pretty sure you can. I pay for a few Patreon podcasts and I can listen to them all within my Apple Podcasts feed.
Well, I hope that is the case. I genuinely, I've never subscribed to anything on Patreon, so I don't really.
Come on, don't say what a terrible sales pitch. We're asking people to subscribe to us to support content they like, and you're saying you don't do it. I do, for what it's worth.
That's because all the content I like, they've never had a Patreon for me to subscribe to. So there we go. But now the best podcast out there, my favourite podcast, the one of which I'm a co-host of, now has a Patreon. So
you'll pay for it, won't you?
And I will pay for it. But I don't know how it works. We will find out. So apologies if there are some teething problems, but I doubt there will be. It's very, very straightforward.
Listen, ignore James. I pay for several podcasts that I like because I think they put the time and the effort in. The least I can do is give them a couple of quid of my money every month. And I know for a fact that the ones I do, I can listen to through my normal Apple Podcast feed, so that is possible. If I'm totally wrong, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure that's it. So that's the big announcement anyway. We know sort of hinted at it for a while. We'd really appreciate it if you feel like you can and you like what we do, and you feel it's worth £3.50 a month. I'd certainly hope it was, because we've been working hard at this for a long time, and there's thousands and thousands of you that download and listen to it, and big news outlets pay for our time and our insights. So if you fancy like chipping into, we'd really appreciate it. I mean, we can carry on, keep going with the podcast and keep it going in the format that it's in. Because without sort of this additional support, it sort of makes it a little bit of an unviable thing for me and James to keep going. So that's the announcement. Patreon.com/We Are West Ham podcast. Appreciate. Thanks in advance to anyone who signs up to that. James, I think it's time probably to move on to the more pressing matter, wouldn't you say, of Julen Lopetegui's future at West Ham and who may or may not replace him?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think,
as in, we'll do a new section. You were just supposed to say yeah, and then I was going to go, well, there we go, and we'll all of that next.
All right, let me start that again. Ask me again.
This is the high quality content that you'll be paying for, by the way, everyone. James, so after all of that, I think it's about time that we had a chat about Julen Lopetegui, his future at West Ham, and the potential man who's going to replace him.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, all of that up next. Right, there we go. Some absolutely flawless broadcasting or podcasting from me and James Jones there. Patreon.com/We Are West Ham podcast is where you can pay for that sort of level of professionalism. Right, James, I know where to start, really. I really want to talk about Steidten, so don't let us move on to the Man City game without doing that. But let's start with Lopetegui first, okay? The timing feels weird to me. We were talking weeks ago, and to be honest, the moment when it felt the most like real was when you kind of gave up, because to be fair, you were wanting to give him a fairer crack of a whip as possible. You were arguing with fans about it on Twitter. You were defending that cause to me gallantly on this podcast as well. And then I can't remember. You'll have to tell me what game it was. I don't even think it was a defeat. It might have only been a draw. What game it was that after that you went, yeah, nah, that like it's done?
I think it was Forest away.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
I think it was Forest away.
But you've sort of made your point already. But do you, about like the timing, and it's probably because they wanted an appointment. And if I'm honest, I actually think that's a really professional way of going about it. I like that from the club. I like that they want to go, right, Lopetegui's done. We have appointed Graham Potter. I like that. It's nice and seamless, nice and quick. We're not that at the time of recording, that hasn't happened yet. There's pictures circulating of Tim Steidten sitting opposite Graham Potter. The exact wording I got out of the club today, or sort of not out of the club officially, to be fair, but out of sources at the club, were he's on the notice, like he's not gone yet, but he's on the brink. And I understood that to mean from information elsewhere that he's gone, but he hasn't officially gone because we're sorting out the replacement first. I personally like that. The timing just seems Man City away. Yeah, I feel like maybe I'm focusing on too much the fact it's after City, and I would always lose that. It's just like they perhaps given up on him weeks ago. Do you think? When would you, if you had to put your finger on it, when do you think the real low point? When do you think the club had decided?
I think the club decided a few weeks ago, and I think even that little 4-match unbeaten run,
it was still dull, weren't it? It was still bad.
Yeah, I think at some point during that little run, they've gone, because it wasn't convincing at any moment.
Yeah, if this is as good as it gets, then
yeah, no, I think the Boxing Day win over Southampton papered over a lot of cracks because Southampton were far better than us on the day, and if Paul Onuachu could score, then it could have been quite embarrassing for Lopetegui and West Ham. And I think during that period, they've gone, okay, we're unbeaten in 4, but this still is not fun. It's not great.
Yeah.
We are almost lying to ourselves here. It's not working. And obviously, we don't know what's going to. Obviously, they will be privy to more about everything we've heard over the last few months about Kudus having a row with Lopetegui, Todibo apparently trying to swing for him, and we've heard all those things. They will be a lot more privy to.
That's alleged, by the way. I mean, from the reports I've heard, that is pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Jared Bowen forced to intervene quite forcibly. The allegations, but it's very much just reports at the moment.
Yeah. But obviously they will know the full extent of those reports and exactly what's happened. And I think when that sort of thing happens, especially involving a player who we are tied down to spending 40-odd million pounds on, it's not like we can send Todibo back now. He's our player. We're signing him at the end of the season.
And he's good.
And he's good.
I think there's a player in there, yeah.
Yeah. So I think when those sort of things happen, and then we're not losing but playing terribly, and then you start playing teams worth their salt, a la Liverpool and Man City, and suddenly you start crumbling and you're conceding 5 and you're conceding 4, and you're even conceding 4 against a team that admitted afterwards that they're not playing at their best.
Yeah,
for me should be the final straw, to be quite honest. I think that's what's happened. Amid they're probably holding out to wait until they get Potter to sign on the dotted line. But I think the club have known for a while. I've seen a lot of people go, Sullivan he doesn't know what he's doing. He can't make his mind up. And in my head, I'm like, no, I think he probably has made his mind up. They're just trying to work out what they do, because if they'd have sacked him. If David Sullivan had sacked him 3 weeks ago, right before a busy fixture period, and not had someone to come in and straight away, and we'd have had God knows who taking the team for 4 games.
Yeah.
Everyone would have been going, Sullivan don't know what he's doing. Why hasn't he got a manager lined up? So you've got
exactly,
you've got to look at it and go, he's probably gone, right, I need to sack him, but I can't do that until I've got someone back, ready to walk in the door.
Yeah.
And it appears now they've got that guy. and it seems like it is Graham Potter. Fine, great, and I agree with you. I think it's a professional way of dealing with it. I'm happy they've done it this way, and I think we could afford to do it this way because there's no danger of us going down.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were bottom of the league like Southampton are and gone, well, we're screwed here. We need to do something. There was a bit of a buffer there that allowed us to take our time in this situation. But yeah, I don't know. The writing's been on the wall for so long. I'm partly relieved that it's coming to an end, but at the same time, a little bit sad because I don't know. I've seen a lot of things written about Julen. I've seen a lot of things written about Julen Lopetegui from people that don't know the guy. Yes, okay, it's not worked for him, but like some of the things people say about these people, I don't know.
What do you mean? Like what?
Oh, they're just like.
I mean, you don't have to give
like very personal things.
Right.
I just like you don't know the guy. He seems like a nice bloke. I wouldn't mind going for a beer with him. Seems all right.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with him. He seems like a nice bloke. It was the wrong fit for the football club.
Yeah.
I also maintain the fact he's not a bad manager.
I think
these people don't manage big clubs without being good managers. I think it was a bad fit. And he will fall on. He will get another job, and he will be a success somewhere else. I don't think that will be in England, but I have no doubt that he'll go on and he'll be a success somewhere else. So everyone. At the end of the day, everyone wrote David Moyes up after the Real Sociedad and Sunderland, and when he's finished, look what then look what he did. So I don't think these people are bad managers. Yes,
Pellegrini went on and did quite well, didn't he? Was it Betis or
currently doing well at Betis? So yeah, I mean, people like just write these managers off and go, "Oh, they just tell managers rubbish. How the hell did he get the job?" Yeah, but I'm sad because I wanted it to work for him. I genuinely did. It hasn't.
Yeah, that's what you definitely did. Yeah,
it's time to move on.
Yeah, I just don't think there was ever a link there. And I know I was negative about it from the beginning, and it's easy for me to say, right? Because you'll go, and I am under no illusions that a lot of my heightened emotion towards the beginning of the season up till now, really, is, as everyone knows, I would have quite happily given David Moyes another roll of the dice and see if the general course of like the trajectory that we've been on the past few years could go again. He was plenty of times throughout his tenure, like it sort of seemed to lull a bit and he needed a win and he pulled it out the bag and then he pulled a run out the bag. And all of a sudden, 6 weeks on, it seemed like that a lot with West Ham. And you hit the nail on the head, and we've discussed it before, that when you play a style of football that David Moyes plays, you need to be winning. There's not, if you're not, then there's awful. Then there's no one wants to watch it. But I just think, for me, like taking that Moyes thing aside, and I mean this, I'm talking objectively about Julen Lopetegui, right? Is I really, really wasn't buying it from the off, because there was just no, even we won away at Crystal Palace, right? Which, to be fair, was probably the high of his career. We lost 2-1 at home to Aston Villa. And even that was a classic one, right? Fans were going, Aston Villa, a great team in the Champions League. No shame in that. Could easily have been 2-2. Yeah, could easily have been 5-1 to Aston Villa as well. But it was easy to write off, right? You go, all right, unlucky. We go and beat Crystal Palace 2-0 away. That was another one. Could easily have been 4-2 to Palace. How we weren't losing at half time, God knows. And we get 2 good goals. Great. Excellent win. Brilliant. Beat Bournemouth at home in the League Cup. Obviously, people aren't that bothered. Lose 3-1 at home to Man City. And I remember I went, and even then, I was just watching it. I was like, I can't see what's going on here. I can't see what he's trying to do, what he's trying to implement. I remember going to Fulham away, and we were so bad, like we were so terrible. Danny Ings got his late equaliser, didn't he? And that was just another one of those games where I know we got a point, but it was just so terrible. You could just see it wasn't sustainable. Fulham should have scored 3 or 4 in that game. And Danny Ings comes off the bench with an absolute miracle to get a point. And then it's like, but And you could, like, again, Fulham were the better team, right? We lose 3-0 at home to Chelsea, get played absolutely wiped away, get smashed at Liverpool, not even close, not even in the game. Then we go to Brentford, again, a team who we should expect to be finishing above. And we're once again, like, second best. We did have a bit more of the ball, but that is a Brentford team that were ravaged by injuries. And we draw 1-1 just. And I remember leaving that, like, absolutely terrible. And then the Tottenham game, I mean, it had already gone by then for me. I know we beat Ipswich 4-1 after Brentford. The Tottenham game, that was when I was properly like, I'm out. I'm done here, because we went, it's the biggest game of the season, as everyone knows, right? Because we're not in Europe anymore, that we're back to that. Tottenham games being the biggest of the season, particularly for the fans, right? So if you're Lopetegui, you're like, we've got a chance here. Maybe we'll throw the style out the window just for this game, and we'll get a bit of grit in. The first half at Tottenham, that first period at Tottenham was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. It was so bad. It was really embarrassing. I obviously went 1-0 up. But then the collapse was just like, what is going on here? Well, it's so bad. And we've just been so easy to cut through all season. And I don't think at any point, like, you're always just waiting with a new manager, right, for that bit to click, or you should at least be able to see it. And after the first few games, the only good positive change he did after he tried to oust Souček, because he represented the Moyes era, was bring him back in Pretty Lively and acknowledge that he's one of our most valuable players, even if he's not that good on the eye. But I just think he was just too stubborn with it. I think it's like the Vincent Kompany syndrome, right? That where managers nowadays, bit Russell Martin at Southampton, feel that their reputation is more important than the results of the club they're managing. In that Kompany was like, yeah, this is the way we play. Oh, Burnley are going to go down. Yeah, but this is my style. This is the sort of football I play. Yeah, but you're going to go back to the Championship. That's going to cost Burnley lots of money. Yeah, but this is me. This is the Vincent Kompany brand. Right, Vincent, Burnley have gone down. Don't worry about that's fine. I'm just off to Bayern Munich because they've seen the style of football I play. Oh, right. Oh, okay. But so you've sort of used us and we're going down. We're paid a price, but you've got a good job, have you? Yeah. Oh, right. Okay. And I just feel that's the same with Lopetegui. It's like, David Moyes and others, there are pragmatic. Marco Silva, right? Perfect example. What a job he's doing at Fulham. He's a pragmatic manager. He hasn't always been doing a good job, but he's making it work at Fulham. He's been given a bit of time. He spent money well, and they almost weirdly look a better side without João Palhinha, even though he's like clearly their best player for the past couple of seasons. But he's been pragmatic. If you ask, you couldn't tell me outside of a Fulham fan, no one you could go, what's Marco Silva's style of play? And just like, I don't know, but he's doing a quality job for Fulham. Like, what? Do you know what I mean? They're playing a quick, expansive, fast attacking brand of football, but it's very much counter-attacking again. I don't know, and I just think Lopetegui was doing that. It was getting offensive now. Like, it was getting insulting, where it was like everyone with two eyes in their head can see that this style of play is not working for this group of players and at this team. So stop doing it. Like, stop letting so many goals in. We have got the fourth worst defensive record in the league, James. Only Wolves, Southampton, and Leicester have conceded more goals than us. That's pathetic.
No, I completely agree. The thing that frustrates me the most is that it's not like he'd gone full on Ange Postecoglou on us and just gone, right, high line, gung ho, just go for it, and then remain stubborn. He's not playing like this ultra attractive style of football either.
No.
It was almost a hybrid between what we were used to under David Moyes and just a little bit more attacking.
But without any of the good bits of David Moyes. Like,
yeah, but the frustrating thing is that I don't think it would have been that much of a move away from his style just to reel it in a little bit.
I quite agree. Yeah.
You don't have to start being Tony Pulis, mate. That's not what we're asking.
Yeah,
we're just asking you just chill out a little bit.
Yeah,
tell the players to be a little bit tighter in midfield. Don't
Get Rodriguez off.
Don't tell the wing backs to camp out in the other team's half the time.
Yeah, let Aaron Wan-Bissaka play at right back.
Yeah, just let him defend, mate. He's one of the best one-on-one defenders in the country. Let him do it. I just there were times where it felt like, mate, that's all you got to do. And if you do that, things will work and we'll be a lot tighter at the back.
It would improve, wouldn't
they? Goals, but we'd still be in the position to attack and have a lot more shots on goal. And it just that's the frustrating thing. And I think you're right. He was too stubborn. But at the same time, particularly early on, I know I was very like, no, give him time. Because I genuinely believe that all it takes is for him to do that and we could be onto something. And he just didn't do it. And it was the Nottingham Forest one away where we've gone there. Yes, they're in form. And we've lost 3-0. And it's like, what on earth? How the hell are we going to Nottingham Forest and losing 3-0? I don't care whether they're top of the league. It's Nottingham Forest, for crying out loud. And we've lost their 3-0 and it probably could have been more. And Chris Wood scoring against us. And it's like, this isn't good enough for me.
Yeah, I know Forest are good, but
that's not the point. If you factor in the fact that the amount of money we've spent and the players that we've got, we should
most of them his picks.
If we'd have gone there and lost 1-0, fine, or 2-1 or something like that, fine. Yeah. But you go to Nottingham Forest and you lose 3-0. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how good their players have been this season.
You hate Nottingham Forest, to be fair.
Yes, I do. But no one can tell me that we haven't got better players than Nottingham Forest. We've got a better squad than Nottingham Forest.
Big time.
We spent a hell of a lot of money assembling that squad of players.
Yeah.
It should not be. I don't care how good the other team's form is in. We should not be going there and losing 3-0. And for me, that was it. I was like, no, I don't like this.
Right, James, two things then, right? I want to talk about Potter and Steidten. I think we go Potter first, Steidten afterwards. I'll give you my thoughts on Potter are, okay, it's a better appointment. I feel better if Graham Potter's our manager than I do with Julen Lopetegui as a manager. Do I feel better as with Graham Potter as the manager than David Moyes? I'm not so sure still, but all I will say is I think Graham Potter, and this sounds silly because you might say every manager's got that. I think Graham Potter has got the potential to be absolutely sensational at West Ham, or we are the club at which it's acknowledged that he's not cut out for the big time. And the reason I think I'm nervous about him is because I think clubs like Brighton and Brentford, who are run extremely well but extremely specifically, make managers look better than they are. And then I think if you step out of that very specific environment, and it's quite unique in football, the environments of Brentford and Brighton, the way they run, how stat heavy and data heavy they are, and the way in which their recruitment's done. And I think he got time and he got a bit of patience. I'm delighted to say, by the way, joining us on the podcast, as it's such a huge occasion, is Alex Smith, who we were talking about already on the pod, does a lot of our or all of our background stuff for us. Alex, we'll bring you in a minute, mate. Good. Cheers for joining. Wanted to get the views of everyone associated with We Are West Ham tonight with the Lopetegui Potter news in the offing. I was just in the middle of a Potter sort of discussion with myself, basically, as tends to be the way on this podcast sometimes. But my sort of thoughts are that clubs like Brighton and Brentford make managers, because of the specific way they run, look better than they perhaps are. And Graham Potter at Brighton was given time and a patient fan base. The yardsticks were lower. And there were still considerable lengths of time where Brighton couldn't hit a barn door. They were struggling to put the ball in the net. I think the Chelsea job was a bit too much of a leap for him. They were also a basket case at the time, to be fair. So I think it was a bit unreasonable. But I think West Ham are not as bad as Chelsea, but we are also a bit of a basket case sometimes. It can be a bit chaotic, and I think it takes a very specific set of skills, as well as tactical side is one part of being a manager, but it's managing upwards and managing sideways and bringing together all the different elements of a club and somehow making it work and getting success on the pitch. David Moyes could do that. I worry, particularly from how he got on at Chelsea, whether Graham Potter will be the same. James, I'll go to you first with just reaction to that. Then we'll get your thoughts, Alex, on Lopetegui, Potter, and all the rest of it.
Well, I think he's a better fit when it comes to style. Massive draw merchant at Brighton, by the way. Love to draw. I've just looked at it now. 134 games in charge at Brighton. He won 43 and drew 43.
Yeah,
like it's mental, and he lost 48. So if you'll have a draw, he's your man. But yeah, I do agree. I think the Chelsea job was too big for him. I think the resources he had at Brighton are above and beyond what you get at most clubs in the country, to be quite honest, in terms of scouting and stuff. So that worked in his benefit. So this is probably the first job where we can really see whether he's got it or not in this country.
Yeah.
Because he won't just be a case of his 15 players or his 18 players do, this is the style of play you need to do. He's going to have to do it all. But yeah, I'm not massively against it. I think he's probably the best man for the job who's available at this moment in time.
Yeah.
And I'm quite looking forward to it. I think he will play a style that fans will like. It's just whether it will work with the current squad of players we've got, because it needs to work off the bat. Really, it needs to work immediately.
I like to think he'd be sensible enough to just go in and get some results.
He was one of the pundits on Amazon for the Leicester game. I think it was the Leicester game, and immediately just listening to him speak, you could tell that in his head he was like, I could get these players playing. You could tell the way he was, the way that they're asking him questions, and you could just tell he knew exactly what he would do with that squad.
Yeah.
And almost as if he knows he's been offered the job and he's waiting to take it, sort of thing. So I trust him
on Sky proving it.
Yeah,
fair enough. Right, Alex. At time recording, Lopetegui technically not gone yet, but on the brink. We understand that it's sort of a case of when, not if, and the club are just trying to get the deal done with Potter so they can announce both at the same time. General thoughts and feelings.
I can't believe Lopetegui is still in the job, basically, because we are absolutely useless, aren't we? We are absolutely terrible, and we have been for a while. And the fact that he's still sort of, even now, still clinging on to a job. The word is like,
have some pride, man.
Hanging by a thread. I mean, how strong is this bit of thread? The fact that he can still be here, crazy. I think it's been a long time. So we've been waiting for this. I feel. I mean, I've been waiting for it ever since we drew. When they were Everton at home, that was the correct time to go going into that November international break. That's when he should have gone.
Yeah. You were remarkably patient, mate. If it took you that long for you to say get rid.
Well, I thought of course any manager deserves time, and I wanted to give him till Christmas, but it was that bad. I was out by November, and he's just. I was saying earlier today, team selection's wrong, subs wrong, no personality. It's just a complete everything terrible. Everything.
Other than that, though,
can you say something? One thing he's done good.
Silence. Bring Souček back in. Yeah, well, yeah, but bring Souček back in, which was correcting his own error.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
That's a good question, actually. James, can you think of anything he's done that was good? By the way, the signal's fine, everyone. James has just got absolutely no.
I don't know. No.
No.
Oh, do you know what? One thing
player
you
looks better under him.
I think his decision to drop Areola and bring in Fabianski, I think that was a good decision. Because he dropped him off the back of that Spurs game where Areola was just dreadful.
Yeah.
And
everyone was like,
he's got to be dropped, but you probably won't drop him. And he did drop him. And Areola only got back in the team because Fabianski's head injury at Southampton. So that's all I can think of, though.
All right. What are your thoughts on Potter, Alex? Just briefly.
I mean, I'm just listening to what you were saying there, Jonesy. Like you're saying, obviously, the fans are going to take to his style of play. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I think it's so incredibly patient, and we're going to have to get used to sort of 60% of the ball. Well, this might be long term. I mean, obviously, when he first comes in, you might just have to get a few results, as we were saying. But long term, we're going to have to get used to sort of 60% of the ball, a lot of passing and going nowhere. And I mean, I think it will be fine. I think I'm looking forward to a team that has an actual structure and an identity. That's going to be exciting to watch, isn't it?
Had that for the past 3 years.
As well. But I'm a bit worried that I think we have it at the moment anyway. Sort of under Lopetegui, we had it a bit under Moyes as well. Sort of, we get the ball in midfield and we go back to keep possession, which is fine if you're playing possession style, and we get the groans from the whole stadium. To go forward, that sort of and we're going to have to get used to this new possession, sort of be relaxed on the ball. And I think that's going to take time, and I think a lot of people are going to struggle to be patient, and Potter's style is patience. However, I think it's a decent appointment. I think it's certainly the best manager there is available out there. I think he's pretty good. I think he's a good manager. I think he's got the best out of a lot of players at Brighton. Obviously, people talk about the recruitment massively helped him at Brighton. You're obviously going to make it look good if you sign McAllister and Caicedo for 10 million.
Yeah,
together.
Sell him for 100 odd or whatever. Yeah, big time.
Of course, you're going to look good, but at the same time, he's improved those players. So I think it's a decent appointment. I do have some reservations, but overall,
he's better than Lopetegui, isn't he?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, if you offered in the summer, who would you rather have, Lopetegui or Potter? In the summer, I would have said Potter.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, of course. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Just quickly, Alex, on what you just said there about the patient style of play. Do you think though that actually with if you take the squad of players we've got right now and the quality we've got and compare it to the team that he had at Brighton in terms of the attacking quality, do you think that actually he might, yes, it'd be a patient style of play, but actually he might get a little bit more success out of that style of play with the quality that we've got? Yes, he made players better at Brighton, but in terms of just, actual straight off the bat quality, do you think he could get a little bit more success out of that?
Yeah. I think it's, with our attack, I still feel like, in Kudus, Somerville, Bowen, we've got players who are good on transition. We don't really have those sort of wingers that are comfortable sort of breaking down that low block. They want the space to run into, sort of. But I mean, in terms of midfield, I think someone like Paqueta, for example, should thrive in a system under Potter. And with the talent we've got.
Why so?
Why will Paqueta thrive? Well, he probably won't, because he'll probably just give the ball away all the time. But he should, because he's technically very good. And he should be able to drop deep. And I think he looks better when he drops deep. And I think he has the potential to do well. But I think our attacking players are very good, and we're better attacking players than Brian probably had. I think we've got Brian under Potter was the big XG sort of. If you believe in that, sort of,
James believes in that. If you believe,
it is a thing. It is a thing.
If you believe in it, that's quality.
They obviously massively underperform their XG because Neil Mulpie can't hit a barn door. But
no,
maybe with some better players, they did create a lot of chances with better players taking those chances. Maybe that's good to work.
Yeah, I agree with you on the patience thing. Right, lads, Tim Steidten. I'm going to keep it brief. I think the pressure is on him hugely. I think more and more fans now will be looking to him. There's a lot of Steidten worshippers, cringily so, on Twitter when he got appointed. And yeah, I think pressure has got to be on him. Surely, it was his sort of camp were doing a lot of briefing when it started going badly. Tim Steidten wanted Amorim. Yeah, I want a Rolls Royce, but I'm not going to get one. West Ham were never going to get Ruben Amorim. Like that was obvious. Certainly, if it wasn't obvious before, after the meeting he came over to have, which was clearly a bit of a tool to sort of spark the interest of other clubs, so his name would get around in the English press, and people go, "Oh, who's this bloke?" He's obviously worked for him. He's down at Manchester United, right? We were never paying the money for him. We were never getting him. I'd have loved it, and I mentioned him a long time ago on this podcast because Tottenham were linked with him a while ago before Ange. And so Lopetegui was on Steidten's list. So this wasn't an appointment made against Lopetegui, against Steidten's wishes, Lopetegui. So he's got his name all over that one. I wouldn't say the recruitment has markedly improved. You know, he signed all the players in the summer, albeit in conjunction with Lopetegui did Steidten. I think the pressure's on. Jonesy, you first. What do you think?
The pressure is on. See, we've been able to believe that he's taken a step back into a more advisory role, apparently. But he is under pressure. Anyone in that position, any club that's struggling, is under pressure. He's the guy that is supposed to sign all the players, essentially, and appoint the manager. And in his first full summer, it hasn't worked. He's appointed the wrong manager. I don't think any of the players, barring Guido Rodriguez to an extent, have been the issue. I don't think any of them have. I think all of them were good players and good signings.
Got unlucky with Fulkrug.
Yeah,
Lewis,
I mean, a lot of people slagging Fulkrug off.
He just got injured.
But like the guy picked up an Achilles injury on international duty. Like, I mean,
plays for Germany, just
that's not
plays
West
for
Ham's
Borussia
fault.
Dortmund.
It's not Steidten's fault. It's no one's fault other than
No.
it just is what it is. But I think all the other signings were good signings. Kilman, Todibo, Somerville's been a good signing. Wan-Bissaka's been a good signing if you stop telling him to run so far up the pitch. Yeah. I think there hasn't been an issue with that. The issue is the manager and the style of play. So, of course, he's under pressure. But I think he should only really be under pressure for that decision and for the next decision that's to be made. If he gets the decision right.
How much of a difficult pick is that? Do you know what I mean? Blimey, Tim. What Graham Potter you think would be good? The only available manager with Premier League experience.
Graham Potter comes in and it's a revelation, and it's brilliant. Then he won't be under pressure. Naturally, so he won't be under pressure. The fact is, he's under pressure because the manager that he brought in, regardless
which is his job,
has done a terrible job, and it's nothing to do with the players. I think it's just the manager. So. I don't know. Part of me is just like, I don't think he's going to be around for long anyway. No. I don't think he'll be around for much longer. I think Sullivan, for as long as Sullivan's at the club. I mean, I did hear that. I don't know whether I saw it on Twitter or somewhere else, but Steidten was actually a Kretinsky appointment. Kretinsky pushed for it. And it wasn't. Sullivan was very against having a technical director at the club because he likes having conrol over the transfer window.
Yeah, to be honest, my information is to the contrary, but
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Apparently, Sullivan's going to have a little bit more control now.
But he already does. Like, let's not. He has the final say, doesn't he? But he does. Go on. Alex, just quickly then, what do you think of Steidten at the moment? Do you think there's pressure on?
I can't really see him being here come the summer. I mean, if it's going to be, maybe that he might get on really well with Potter and then he end up staying. But I mean, there's a problem when you're falling out with both managers, even though know Lopetegui seems to fall out of everyone, but that is a bit of an issue, isn't it? And I feel like this. Steidten, if we look, I think we're going to look back and say, you know what, he actually signed quite a few decent players for us. I think he has, and also our selling has improved as well. We used to let like Felipe Anderson go for like £2 instead.
When you say our selling improved, pretend you're not just talking about Declan Rice.
No. Like
I agree with him.
we got 15 mil for Ben Rama. He's not.
I mean that is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
We got 18 million
broke
for
even on
Flynn Downs
Kara.
as well.
Yeah,
Is it
broke
18
even on
million?
Kara, 18 mil on Flynn Downs, something like in that region. Like that's better than it has been before.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, Steidten deserves a lot of criticism. I feel like the squad is in like 3 parts at the moment. So you've got like the Moyes leftovers, the Steidten signings. Then
Don't call them leftovers. The Moyes legends.
Moyes legends.
Yeah, go on. What was part 2?
Steidten signings, like sort of the Kudiuses, the Mavropanoses, and then you've got ones that are blatantly Lopeteguis, like Kilman,
the Guidos.
Guidos. So it's like the squad is like, you can tell there's been like problems in the summer, like when it comes to agreeing. Everyone needs to be on the same page and not on the same page. Now, if Steidten and Potter are on the same page, and I'm fine with Steidten staying. If he's not, goodbye to Steidten, and I don't know, but Dan Ashworth,
yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, big time. Right, lads. I think that's about it. Alex, thanks for joining us just for this section. We won't put you through the torture of staying on for the next bit, where we're going to chat about the Man City game in a little bit more detail. But great to have you on and join us. We've told everyone else earlier on in the pod as well about the move to Patreon. Alex will be sort of helping us, as he's been all season, facilitating all that sort of stuff, getting all the edits done, getting all the stuff out on socials as well. He's been doing an absolutely brilliant job, and it's nice to have him on for a little bit of opinion every now and then as well, to change up the monotony of James and I. But stay with us. More from me and Jonesy. A reaction to the Man City game next. Right, Jonesy, now that's out of the way, then Manchester City away on the weekend, Saturday, of course, 4-1 defeat. I don't know. You know my thoughts on these big games, quite honestly, mate, is that I just think they're symptomatic of what the Premier League has become these days, whereby at the beginning of every season, there is a significant amount of games that I just kind of write off. And maybe I'm looking at it with, rose-tinted spectacles. But it felt like when I was young, growing up, watching West Ham at Upton Park, and Man United were all conquering, and Arsenal were obviously running them close most of that time, that we always had a chance and that we always gave them a game, and there was a half a chance we'd win. Not that we didn't get tonked 4-0 every now and then. And I think maybe I'm looking through that with rose-tinted spectacles a little bit as far as away from home goes, because I think, we beat them with Di Canio, didn't we? And then I think it was in that season, we might have beaten them twice. Maybe Defoe scored in the league. But then a significant amount of years passed before we beat them again. It's not something we perhaps did all the time, actually, and even now, when we've got an amazing record. But I don't know. I just find it really, really hard to talk earnestly about such games. I went on Talk Sport on Saturday morning with Max Rushton, Charlie Baker, and it was quite funny because they were wetting themselves laughing at me, because he was like, after my usual moanings about Lopetegui, how bad it's been and blah, blah, blah. Then in sort of a vain attempt to, I don't know, to not have the whole energy of the show totally brought crashing down to earth, Max goes, "Oh yeah, but Man City haven't been playing well. You got some hope, haven't you?" And I just went, "No." Right, see you later. End of segment. Exactly what happened. We lost 4-1. I know you're probably going to talk about the amount of shots we had. Not that we, it's not like we won loads under anyone. It's just, I don't know. I just find it really boring and dull and pointless. And if ever there's a game I have to miss at home because of work or whatever, I'm not bothered about going to the Man City games anymore. I don't know. I just think it's rubbish. What do you think?
Well, I wasn't able to watch the game. I wasn't in a position to accidentally stumble across it on the internet somewhere at the time.
Yeah, aka you didn't want to.
Yeah, but I watched Match of the Day the following morning, and was actually a little bit like, oh, we had a couple of good chances. The whole Somerville thing wound me up a little bit, but is what it is. But I laughed at the end when they interviewed Pep Guardiola, and obviously they've not been in great form, have they? And so there were some fans going, "Oh, we could go there and get something." And it's like, no, we won't.
Yeah.
And he comes out after and goes, "Yeah, but we're still not at our best." And I'm like, "Well, they've just battered us 4-1. Probably should have been a little bit more." Like,
he's going.
I think what the
We're not quite
scoreline
our
would have
best,
been.
but we'll still beat West Ham.
Yeah, I just think what the scoreline would have been if they were at their best. Because if it was 4-1, like we're probably talking double figures, really.
Yeah.
So but at the same time, I don't think anyone's surprised that it ended 4-1. I'm surprised we scored 1, to be fair. Just as surprised I was when I looked at the stats after the game and I was like, oh, hang on, we had 17 shots.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I've ever seen that at the Etihad, ever. And we had over 40% possession as well. Normally it's about 15% when we go to Man City. So I was like, oh, there are some positives, but we still got battered 4-1, so it doesn't really matter. So it was kind of one of those where I think we're half an hour. Was it half an hour before they scored? No, they scored quite early, didn't they? But it was before they scored 1. I was like, well, they haven't scored yet. Maybe we're doing all right. Maybe we're doing okay. And then the goals start flooding in. It's what it is. I don't know.
It was just writing on the wall, wasn't it? Beforehand, but it's like, well, I don't know. I don't really like all those silly football cliches either. But if ever there was one that was going to ring true, it was, if ever Man City are going to find form, it's against West Ham.
Yeah, and I'd been on a couple of City podcasts a couple of days earlier, sort of doing their Oppo views. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, if there was a time to beat us, it's now." And I was like, do not even think for one moment we're going to turn up and give you a game. It won't happen. If anything, you guys beating Leicester has probably made me that little bit more confident that we could do something, but it's still not a confident that actually makes me believe that something will happen. It's more like that's a touch that they've won before they've played us, because if they haven't won before they've played us, they're definitely going to score about 9 against us. And they were like, no, we're not playing well. This is the best time to play us. I'm like, no, it's the worst time to play Man City, because any minute now it's gonna click for them again. And the fact that it hasn't clicked for them then yet, and they've still battered us, doesn't speak very well to Lopetegui and the rest of the players. But yeah, it was even more predictable than being battered at home 5-0 by Liverpool, to be honest. I don't know. Honestly, knew it was gonna happen.
I really struggled to find anything to say, because I don't know. I mean, what's the year? Was it 2016 last time we won there, wasn't it?
2015. It was
that season.
Village season. Yeah, it was. It was the start of that season where we'd beaten Arsenal, Liverpool, and City away. Yeah. And it was all a bit like, oh my god, what the heck? What on earth's happening here? This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. I don't know. I know this is a very good analysis on the week that we've the week we're trying to sell this content. But I think what people like, I've gauged over the 5 odd years we've been doing this now, James, is what people like about us. It's just our frankness, and that we say how it is. We're not putting any fake or positive spin on it. And we get a lot of messages sort of saying people agree with one or both of us. I didn't expect anything. I couldn't give a stuff about possession, as we all know. We've had lots more possession this season than we have for the last few years. It hasn't bore fruit at all. We've done nothing with it, and we've looked absolutely woeful at the back. It didn't feel like Man City really had to sort of win the game that much. I think the first goal's unlucky. That can go anywhere, really. You feel a bit for Soufal. That is unfortunate. I think the one where Haaland runs through and dinks it over, I think it was Kilman looking a bit flat, a bit out of position. It's a nice run by Haaland, kind of ghosts in behind. But again, it looked like sort of Kilman, if you ask me, he was sort of ball watching a little bit. Then Kudus, terrible error for the Foden goal that was.
Yeah.
The dodgy
Try and play out the
pass.
back, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
Fancy in that.
exactly. Just silly, but again, silly. I don't I don't know. I just find it all just it's just a naff game that is rubbish. Like we never had a sniff going there, did we? We never had a chance in hell. I know 17 shots, 4 of those on target. They had 10 shots, 7 on target. It's quality of shots, isn't it? I feel like that's just sort of.
Well, on Match of the Day, after their little analysis, and sometimes I find the analysis after some of the games that they show just a little bit pointless, but they did highlight some of the gaps that Man City were leaving in midfield that we were failing to exploit. We exploited it a few times in the first 10 minutes before they went 1-0 up. Kudus was getting in behind their defence quite a lot and had a couple of chances. And then you had the Somerville situation where he'd taken the ball off of Kanji fairly and squarely, absolutely no problem with it, and was clear on goal. And the referee pulled it back for a push on Akanji, and Akanji's about 4 times the size of Somerville. Like, how on earth has Somerville knocked him over? Use your brain. So, like, we had opportunities to hurt City. But then you go 1-0 down to one of the most unfortunate own goals ever.
I mean, he gets in a good position, doesn't he? But Soufal's just
Soufal's put a foot out to block it, and it's come off his stud and completely wrong foot in Areola. Like, there's nothing anyone could do about that. And then you're 1-0 down at Man City. It's a mountain to climb, even at 1-0. It's a mountain to climb at 0-0. So it's what it is, isn't it? The fact, what I'm trying to say is that yes, it was a formality, but we had opportunities at 0-0 to probably go 1-0 up, maybe 2-0 up, and maybe rock them a little bit. But we didn't take those chances. And that has been the story for much of the season, where we have got ourselves in good positions. That you mentioned shots. I mean, I think we're averaging something like 19 shots a game. Yeah, but we've scored less than one. I think we're averaging less than a goal a game. Goal scored, or at least one a game. It's just not good enough. No. So
I also think, you know what, right? Mohamed Kudus is the biggest end. You know, at the beginning of the season, I was fearing I may be calling Said Somerville or Crescencio Benrahma or whatever, because I was fearing he's going to be exactly the same sort of lightweight, skillful player who just couldn't cut it in the Prem. I feel like the end product or lack of end product Kudus is producing this season. I think I might have to start calling him Said Kudus, because again, he got through on goal, didn't he? At the Etihad, just fluffed it. The amount of, like, I don't know, everyone's waxing lyrical about him. Another thing I got asked on the radio on the weekend was Arsenal said to be interested, or a few teams sniffing around Kudus. Would you take 80 million for him this month? I'd take 8 million for him this month. No, but honestly, someone gave us 80 million quid for Kudus, and he's good at carrying with the ball, but his decision making again, when he's execution, it's been terrible. I think he's one of the biggest casualties under Lopetegui, to be fair. But still, some of the positions he gets in still, doesn't matter who your manager is. You know, you should be able to put a good cross in or put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's not like the role he's been asked to play has hamstrung him at all. Like, he's still getting in the final third. He's still having opportunities. I don't know what it is. I did wonder whether, because he had that problem with Ghana, didn't he, in the last international break, where he was being hounded by the Ghanaians, being accused of being the reason why they failed to qualify for AFCON. And that happened 3 days before he lost his mind at Tottenham. So maybe that, I don't know, but I mean,
he had a Barney with Lopetegui before, didn't it? Brentford away at half time.
That's happened. So maybe it's a case of he's just not enjoying playing under him. I've wondered for a while now, and he even came out live in an interview on Sky Sports, I think it was, and said he prefers to play through the middle as a number 10. We've never seen him play in that position.
Yeah, maybe on the odd occasion.
I don't think he's ever played there. I don't think he's never started in that position. He may have like moved there mid-game. And I've always wondered, would we see a more effective and a more consistent Mohamed Kudus if he was playing the position that he's openly said that he prefers to play in?
Yeah, but then what'd you do with Paqueta, I suppose? Playing deeper, I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, you can drop Paqueta. He's been just as terrible. And he's probably on his way out this month.
This month. Well, maybe.
I just wonder with Kudus whether it's a mixture of him not playing the position that he particularly enjoys, not liking the manager, and maybe a little bit of frustration at what's happened at international level, which has rolled over to his club game. I don't know. I'm kind of just trying to find excuses.
Yeah,
he's gone from being a great player last season and really important, and to being rubbish this year. Just no one can really explain it.
No, I can't either, quite frankly. Right, James. Looking ahead, obviously lots of change afoot at West Ham, but we've got Aston Villa in the FA Cup third round away on Friday night. What are your thoughts?
Exactly the same as they were when the draw happened. That's FA Cup down for another year, then, isn't it?
Yeah.
You always go into the third round draw. Go, give us a nice draw. We want a cut run. Could this be our year? And yeah, you get Villa away. Villa hasn't lost at Villa Park in about 30 years. And I did read somewhere they've got a big anniversary on Friday night. I think it's 100. I think it's the 150th anniversary. It could be the 150th anniversary.
Yeah, they're one of the oldest clubs in England, aren't they?
They've got a bit of an event going on, and the game lands on the anniversary day, which means that they've got more to play for. They're going to want to mark that occasion with a win. They're unbeaten at home in forever. We don't even know whether we're going to have a manager.
Yeah, mate. You were right, actually. 24-25 will be our 150th anniversary season. The AV 150 anniversary match. Aston Villa is excited to announce our FA Cup third round tie against West Ham will be the club's dedicated 150th anniversary game. Oh, yeah, James. Have a listen to this from the Villa website, right? 150 years ago, a spark was lit. In the heart of Birmingham, a club was born. I should do it in a Brummie accent. I don't know if I could do that one. In the heart of Birmingham, a club was born. The founding father of the league, the builders of dreams. This is where it began. What do you reckon? You rate that or not? No, you're not having it. No. Oh dear. The original Claret and Blue pioneering a club of firsts through eras of glory and grit. 150 years of history, a night to honour it all, a night to kick off the next chapter. Well, God knows, to be honest, James, quite what they're going to be doing. I'm trying to read through this very, very long article on their website, but yeah, I've got no idea what they're going to be doing. But
I'll tell you what they're going to be doing. They're going to be beating West Ham and getting into the fourth round of the FA Cup. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that is true, mate. That's true. No, he's not give us any chance at all. No, I mean, leave it all. Can we see the chance for a few players to prove themselves, like with the?
If I'm honest, I think it all rests on what happens over the next 48 hours regarding the manager. I don't see us. I think Aston Villa will play a strong team because they've fallen off it a little bit in the league. Their away forms meant they've dropped off the top 4 places. Yeah. Yes, they've got the Champions League to contend with, but they're going to want to ensure that they're in Europe again next year. And so, there's a chance that they're going to need to win the FA Cup to be in Europe next year. It's very competitive, that top 10. So I think Emery will go strong, and they're not going to play a weakened side on a big anniversary night, are they? They're going to go big.
Yeah.
So I don't see it. And yes, things might change if we've got a different manager in the dugout. But even then, the guy would have had, whoever it's going to be, would have had 24 hours it's not enough time to get a team up for a Villa away in the FA Cup on a Friday night, is it?
No, quite, mate. No. No, quite agree. All right, everyone. Well, after the thrashing at Manchester City, you've now got the thrashing at Aston Villa to look forward to. Please pay for our podcast. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Yeah, inclined to agree, Jonesy, quite frankly. You never... I hate when people say you never know. You pretty much do know. That's the only thing that gives me hope is that the players, there may just be a new system at play, but that the players might be keen to impress their new manager. That's the only sort of hope. But yeah, I think Villa are an impressive side, aren't they? Yeah, it just does. I mean, there's sort of, I think, 5,500 away tickets. There'll be 5,500 West Ham up there. That's nice. Yeah, but I was watching clips back today of the Man United away in the FA Cup when Payet got the free kick that I was at. It's always great when the away end's absolutely packed and you get an extra allowance. So that'll be good. Is he on a telly? Friday night? I figure it must be.
There's only 2 games on Friday night. It's us and then another
ITV. So on ITV, blimey, we're on terrestrial TV, James. So it's a chance for the whole nation to see just how good West Ham are. It is. I've just
that's
checked,
embarrassing, isn't it? Right.
You're not looking forward to the whole of the UK seeing? No, fair enough. All right, James. Well, stay with us because you'll have some final thoughts from me and Jonesy next. There you have it then. That's it for another week of the We Are West Ham podcast. Hope you enjoyed listening. Times, they are a-changing at the Hammers. Lopetegui appears on his way out. Graham Potter also appears on his way in. I hope you enjoyed all the analysis from me, Jonesy, and Alex tonight. Forget about the City game. Doesn't matter. Villa in the FA Cup on Friday. And don't forget, as we announced earlier on, you can now subscribe to the We Are West Ham podcast on Patreon. It's patreon.com/We Are West Ham podcast. The links will be on all our socials and in the descriptions and stuff. If you do fancy supporting us so we can keep this as a viable endeavour for me and Jonesy to carry on, we would greatly appreciate it. We're going to be starting the messaging communities and all that sort of stuff as well. And just as a reminder, you get ad-free listening and every single episode 24 hours before those non-paying. The non-Patreon members. But just a reminder as well that if you can't pay or you don't want to, you won't be getting a minute less of content from us. It just means you'll get it with adverts still and a day later than the Patreon members. Thanks for listening. As always, everyone. Exciting times, I think, at West Ham again. I haven't got that sort of constant feeling of dread. And there is actually half a chance that it could all work out with Graham Potter. I think hard to imagine that happening immediately, but he's certainly a better man to have in the dugout than Julen Lopetegui. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. This season and last year in 2024, kind of forgot about the fact this is our first podcast of the new year, given that so much is happening just before we record. We hope you can support us on Patreon. If you listen for a long time and you like what we do, would really appreciate it if you did. And thanks for your long-term loyalty, listening, and getting involved in the comments. Follow us on socials and all that sort of stuff. But if you do anything this week, subscribe on Patreon. Thanks for listening. Up the Hammers, West Ham are massive, a new era on the horizon. Speak to you next week.